Today, we will talk about the gradient. Why is it so important? Why is the method you will learn about today actually the best? And why shouldn't you use the old method but rather this new one? So, let me tell you what this method is all about. Well, let's take a look at our screen. What do we see? I have this website here. You will find the link in the description. What is the essence of this method? The method is that we don't just use linear colors. This is how a gradient is usually made. A gradient, mortar, is usually made like this, diagonally. Let's see why this is so, and what the difference between them is. First, to see the difference, we need to select our material. Here, choose the flat blending mode. Right-click, Fit to Object, No. And now we see how our color gradient is applied to the object we have in the scene. Here we have, how does it work? It works in such a way that it selects opposite each other. That is, we have red and we have turquoise. But what is the secret? The secret is that this method used by this setting doesn't just place them opposite each other. It makes circular movements too. Capture this middle color rather than just taking the average gray color. Because here, you see, when we use a regular gradient, we get a gray area. This is a dead zone. It is unnecessary and colorless. In this case, if we look at our cloud in the middle, we see a gray area. This is exactly that part. Here it is. We can shift it, but with this, we can make our gradient look great. For this, you can go to this site. We need to choose two main colors. Let's, for example, also make it red, like I have here. More saturated. And turquoise color. And we see that we don't just have gray, as here we have such a shade appearing, yellow, so it looks more pleasant and more beautiful. Let's go through a few settings on the site, see? We have such a setting that we can use. It creates more colors for us in our gradient. The higher this setting, the more colors there are, and the smoother our gradient becomes. But let's use a simple one, 3 or 4. Here we have 3 or 4 gradient codes, and let's apply them to our object. Before that, let's take a snapshot to see the difference later. Alright. We copy the first color that we have here. We apply it, the first code, then we place the code and place the last code. Now, we will insert between them the colors that we have. Alright, let's use the example of 3, and for a clearer gradient example, we have a standard gradient of red, turquoise. But the problem is that there is a gray color between them, and that's not good. To avoid this, we use our method, set our chosen color. Right here, we take its code, copy it, select it, right here, and also this color. But since I already copied it earlier, it's here. And here we can choose how many colors we want to have between our gradient. The more colors, the smoother our gradient, in our case. Let's choose 3, standard, and see our average color code. Let's copy it, add it. Set the position to 50 and set the color to the one we copied. And then we see what happens in our case. We don't just have some ordinary gray color, uninteresting, but we get a yellow color, more interesting than just gray. Yes, it may not be perfect in the sense that if we don't need to use yellow, but if we need to use something as creative as possible, and we have the freedom to do so, why not do it? Our creative project is to add more colors, more vibrancy, so that the picture looks more beautiful and so on. Let's take an example. Let's enhance this shot. Alright, let's enable folding for the cube. Right here. Let's adjust it to make it look more appealing. Okay? And here's the difference we get. Let's duplicate it and look at a live example. Let's take a snapshot, make a duplicate, apply the duplicate, and remove the middle layer. Alright, and let's take another snapshot. This is what happens if we use this method, and this is if we don't. Here we have a gray color added, which is not very pleasing to the eye. Therefore, I think this video is useful for you. In the future, you will be able to use this method. Let's add a bit of color correction. Let's choose a nice tone. Let's do it like this. A bit of contrast. Let's adjust the camera a bit more. This is the gradient we get. If we use glass and want to use this gradient, then we must select transmission and glass here. After which, our effect, let's delete it. And also make a comparison here with and without it. Look at what's happening here. Here we see this gray-white color, and here it is more colorful and bright. Therefore, I think it's actually a cool thing to use in your creative projects. So give a like if this video was useful to you, subscribe to the channel, and also follow my Instagram. There's a lot of interesting stuff there, and goodbye to everyone.